Take your time.
We're good. Well.
Okay. All right, it's start time. So I want to welcome all of you that are here tonight. So I'm Dr. Neil Sechrist. My partner, Dr. Bill Simon, is in the other office, and his mid-level Lisa are here. We're part of New Medical Healthcare. And tonight we're going to cover some important information. By the way, we're Facebook Living this, so this recording will be posted shortly thereafter. Feel free to like, share, comment, send us questions online during the presentation if you wish. At the end, if there's time, I'll try to address some of those. Near the end of the presentation, you're going to hear from a couple of our patients who have volunteered to come and just share their stories. So these are people you could bump into in the marketplace out there if you like. So this is our Facebook page. You could actually see that. That's one of the places where you'll find this recording and other recordings that are pertinent to really what we're doing in our practice. That being said, let me share with you a concept that I think we're going to kind of flesh out tonight, and that is how to really understand that really the greatest medicine, I think, is to teach people how to not need medicine in the first place. And I'll share with you what I mean by that. I was a practicing flight surgeon for several years, an emergency physician now for 30 years. In fact, one of my fellow aviators is in the audience tonight, prior F-16 driver, so we got some celebrities in the house tonight. And one of the things I got to focus on when I was active duty is working with a group of really healthy individuals, those responsible really for our nation's defense, and doing what I could medically to optimize their health and have them perform really well in the cockpit, a very high-stress, rapid decision-making kind of environment. But I got this very interesting perspective because during the day hours I would do that, but on the weekend I was working in the emergency department to help pay off my school loans, and I was seeing kind of the polar opposite of health. I was seeing the things that land in the emergency department, the heart attacks, the strokes, all the things, the injuries that take you to the ER environment. So I had this dichotomy of people that I was taking care of on a regular basis. So one of those was the super healthy group. The other one was the things you don't want to have happen to you. So I had stories that I could tell all week to the people who, that I was seeing during the week of how to drive by the ER, or what and how to not land in the ER. So I'm just going to talk a little bit tonight about how you can kind of make some changes in your life if you want. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to address this concept called hormones. Okay, what are hormones? We're going to talk about the differences between bioidentical, human identical, as well as synthetics, and what are those differences. We're also going to address what the different delivery systems or the options are. How can they come into our body, whether it be pill, patch, gel, cream, shot, pellet, troche, different options. How they can help both men and women individually in their respective lives. What are the so-called risks that we hear about out there? Hey, I heard that could cause this problem. We're going to address what those are, if they're actually even real. And then finally, to find out tonight whether or not whether you're a candidate in any way, shape, or form for some of these. So with that as a backdrop, we're trained, and Dr. Simon and Lisa and I are trained on how to do really what we call conventional medicine. And this is what the system out there that you go through, if you go through medical education, teaches you in. And it's this concept of what we call prolongation of morbidity, or unfortunately, prolongation of illness. So our system teaches us that people are at their best years of their life, perhaps in the first couple of decades, and then once you kind of pass your peak, it's kind of maybe just downhill from there on out, until where our medicine system teaches us morbidity extension, how to prolong somebody's life, not necessarily improve the quality of their life, but kind of how they can help keep them longer, living longer. And even if that means curled up in a bed somewhere, not being very productive, our medicines and our systems kind of just trying to how to extend that. So that's the conventional medicine model. And what we find is that's exactly the case. This is me, not all that long ago. I kind of stopped working emergency medicine, even though I served there for 30 years. I kind of realized that's not where I wanted to spend the rest of my life, working. And so I was this guy here at the bottom of the cliff, frantically scrambling to catch patients as they fell off the cliff into my ER, where I would either treat them and street them, or treat them and admit them to the hospital, depending on the severity of their illness. And I found it so much more rewarding to not necessarily do that, but maybe what I call primary prevention, how to put up a guardrail, teaching people how to not fall off the cliff in the first place. And to do that, you need a vehicle to do that. And so that's kind of the concept of what we're going to talk about here tonight. So the father of modern medicine, William Osler, said this. He says, the person who takes medicine has to recover twice, once from the medication and once from the disease and the other from the medication itself, implying side effects from those medications. So that challenge was really thrown down a little over 4,000 years ago with the Chinese, and they said, superior doctors prevent the disease. Mediocre doctors treat the disease before it's evident, and inferior doctors treat full-blown disease. And so in a way, that was kind of me in the ER treating full-blown disease, and we need those kind of doctors, but the reality is I didn't have a chance to see them before that kind of catastrophic event took place. So now myself and the rest of my partners here at our practice like to be that top tier. We like to be the superior physician to help truly prevent primary disease, and this is the vehicle which we've chosen to do that. So here's kind of the sandbox I think we do play in, and that is the goal of regenerative or preventive medication. So there's that same chart, right? 10 to 20 years. Although when you kind of tip over the edge and you start heading downhill, we focus here on vitality extension. So even though the sands of time continue to drop down, we have that vitality, that quality of life going up to the 5th, 6th, 7th, yes, even 8th and 9th decades of life, retaining that quality of life. And that's really where we're going to spend our time tonight, showing you how you can enjoy those benefits should you so choose. So to do that, we use this vehicle called hormones. Okay, they're basically a lock and key kind of mechanism. They're simple peptides or proteins that affect a change. And has anybody over here ever heard of a compound called insulin? Right? Pretty common, right? Insulin is a hormone. It works in a lock and key type of mechanism. The key goes in, it locks, the glucose comes out of the bloodstream and now can enter the cell, and so it is a simple common hormone that many people have heard of. The question is this: do we lose our hormones because we age, or do we age because we lose our hormones? See, I pose to you that it is the latter that is turning out to be the case in so many instances. So we do what's called a functional medicine approach. Basically, this little complex chart that's kind of hard to see, if you look at these little blue circles, in the center there, it gives an example of somebody who's maybe suffering from low mood, nervousness, anxiety, depression. Well, conventional medicine says, hey, give that person an antidepressant. Give them some Wellbutrin or Prozac or some kind of medication to treat that illness. That's fine, but a functional medicine approach does something different. It says, hey, what's the underlying root cause of the problem? Perhaps that person has a thyroid that's out of balance. Maybe there's some nutritional deficiencies. Maybe some other things, pre-diabetes or vitamin D insufficiencies are going on. Those are the root causes. And so as a functional medicine person, we think, what is that root cause? You see, I've learned that people don't come in, maybe they come in with those symptoms, they don't come in with a Wellbutrin or a Prozac deficiency in their body, right? They have other deficiencies. Fix those other deficiencies, support that, deal with the healing or the root cause of the problem, then you reduce or eliminate the need for the fixes and the cures in the first place. Yes, use that medicine when able, but don't stop there. Dig for the underlying root cause. Peel back the layers of the onion and see if you can uncover other things. That's a functional medicine approach. So here's what you basically need to know. Number one, not all hormone therapies are created equal. Number two, hormone replacement is not a one-size-fits-all approach. You don't take a cookie cutter and just put everybody in the same little bit of space. You have to customize, make it unique to the person, which is varied, everybody from their kidney function, their activity level, their numbers and their levels, customized approach specifically for that individual. Number three, you need a certified expert, someone who's gone through advanced training, deals with these cases on a regular basis and with all the variables, and they've had a certification in doing that. And fourth, what I consider probably the most important of all is this concept of optimization, not just normalization. What do I mean by that? So whenever a lab in a given area draws someone's blood, they find that 95% of the people fall under what's called a 95% confidence interval, a bell-shaped curve, if you will, that helps that describes the majority of the people, and that helps establish the inner and outer or upper and lower ranges, borders, if you will, of the reference range. And so some person may have a level that over time has kind of slipped down here nearer that lower edge of the reference range, but conventional medicine says, hey, you're in the normal range even though you're in the lower part, and so they don't necessarily want to treat that. What we do is take that and put it back over to the right side, the right half of that reference range, the right half, the upper quartile of the reference range, and restore it back to where it was maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago in your life when you were at the season of your life and you felt your best. We call that concept optimization, okay? That's really where it was. And then over time, it's simply drifted down to these lower levels, which create the symptoms. When we move it back, the symptoms get better, they go away, you're in an optimized state. That's simply what that means. So people can describe their symptoms. They can say, you know, how do you feel? Do you feel like this? Maybe angry and edgy? Or would you better feel like this, kind of calm, cool, and collective, like you've got it all going on? Or perhaps like this, poor memory, concentration, fatigue, headaches, all kinds of issues. Or how about like this? You get that wellness, that feeling of good, optimal health when you're excited about life again when we were younger. Or perhaps you feel like this. Some of you may have heard this. Probably date myself from doing that, but some of you know who that probably is. So that guy, I think that guy's suffering from a hormone imbalance. That's probably his main thing. So here we go through the checklist. Okay, so as we kind of go through here and read these, I'm not going to read every one of these to you, but if you can see that on the video or here in the room, as you go through that list, just make a little mental check mark. Is this something I'm suffering from, or is there somebody I know or care about or love who battles these kind of issues? All of these things, quite frankly, are simply symptoms of likely hormone insufficiencies. That can oftentimes be thyroid, testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D, progesterone. Those are the main ones that create these kind of symptomatologies. So let's say low energy, for example. How do people usually treat low energy? So anybody here know someone ever who's tired in their life? Okay, one person hands raised up. Well, two people. Okay, the rest of you, how many won't raise your hand no matter what I say? Okay. So think about this. What do you do if you're tired? What do people mostly do? What do?
Coffee.
They reach for a coffee, right? Okay. Energy drinks, right? Okay. Okay, right? Maybe, or take a nap, right? Can't really do that if you're flying an airplane, but so that's pretty important. So people treat that. They take vitamin B injections or things like that. So please understand, those people don't have like a monster deficiency in their body, right? They don't have a coffee deficiency. Now, we treat that and do that, but what I've learned is as soon as you treat that, or if you do some kind of energy maneuver, it's basically borrowing energy from the future. And when you borrow energy from the future, you have to pay it back. So I've got patients that say, I ask him, hey, do you guys ever use any energy drinks? And he comes back and says, yeah, doc, I take one every day at 3:45. I'm like, okay, well, how do you choose that time? He goes, oh, it's because I know I have an hour and a half left on my shift, and then by the time I get through driving home and get through traffic, now the crash hits, so once I'm home, it's safe. So he's got it all timed out, so his drop-off, his payback, is after he's already at home. And by the way, what do they typically charge for those kinds of energy drinks that are out there? What do they sell for? Does anybody know? $2? $4? Yeah. See, I'm thinking the 20 ounces, depending, I guess, quantity, it comes down, but it's a $3 to $4 kind of deal, generally, depending on how big it is, right? Okay. So there's a symptom checklist. Now, some of you, if you have not been offered, there's a piece of paper. If not, they'll give you one. Ashley will come around and offer it to you. It's a symptom checklist. That just serves as maybe a before picture for you tonight to assess that, because everybody likes to know their symptoms. Now, if you're here with somebody, don't peek over their shoulder and try to change their answers or anything like that. That's your own private checklist. There's one for male and one for female. And that serves, again, to put your baseline information down. Now, later on, we'll offer you the opportunity to have your blood drawn, but that's a very important document that we use, because we'll compare that if you do therapy in the future to compare how you're feeling. So we use symptoms, and we give 80% of the weight of our judgment to your dose based on your symptoms, but we need 20% of the data from the blood test to kind of guide us along for the dosages, again, to customize it to your individual situation. So I think this chart kind of explains it best. Hormone production, levels, and optimization. Here, you can see there's that baseline in the middle, and the green, as it starts dropping off into the yellow, that's the hormones dropping. Therefore, we're starting to age, and we have these difficult problems, sleeping and brain fog and low energy and mood swings and weight gain. That's the hormones kind of drifting off with time. But when we optimize those, the reverse happens. We start up that blue curve. We get the benefits of optimization. Then those symptoms actually reverse themselves. People can begin shedding weight. They get reduction of the brain fog. Libido goes up. Results in the gym go up. Energy goes up. Mental brain fog clears. And so you'll hear about more of those tonight. So the BioT method really does 4 main things. It balances testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D, and of course thyroid. It also incorporates some medical grade nutraceuticals that make the pellets and options work better as well as last longer, kind of honing in on those insufficiencies we related to earlier. So let me address just kind of 2 or 3 key areas, one of which is called andropause. That's a fancy name for male menopause, or we call it manopause, okay? 20% of the males over age 50 have low testosterone. It's very common in conditions that you battle like sleep apnea and blood pressure and cholesterol. Those are all kind of common and related issues. They overlink into each other. It's a signifier to link to early heart disease, okay? And oftentimes it's underdiagnosed. Now, men these days are a little more acutely aware about all that, so sometimes they'll go to the doctor and say, hey, I think I might be having, lower T, they'll say, and they'll ask to have their levels checked. So they're a lot more aware. But again, oftentimes they'll fall in the lower part of the reference range. That conventional medicine people say, well, you're still normal, so we can't really treat it. We don't do that. We treat it and move it to the upper part of that, restoring you back to where you were. And so that's how we'll deal with that. So testosterone is the main hormone for males. And it is protective for brain, bone, heart, and other kinds of relationship. In the female, it's protective for breast cancer. So we'll talk about those issues. Again, present in both men's and women. Large amounts in men, small amounts in women. Men aged 30 lose about 1 to 3% per year, beginning again in their 30s. Now, I've seen it clinically, and I know probably Dr. Simon has as well. We're finding males in their mid-20s having inappropriately low levels for their relative youth. I had a guy not all that long ago coming in with anxiety and depression issues, and he was just put on, anxiety pills and depression pills. He felt that his levels might not be low, so I asked him about it. We drew his blood. Sure enough, it came in really that of a level that present of a 50-year-old man. Someone twice his age, he had their testosterone levels, and so we restored those, and away went his symptoms. He came off his antidepressants and his anxiety meds, which really weren't his problem in the first place. So that can happen. Women will lose testosterone 15 years before menopause, beginning as early as in the mid-20s. So that when that drops off, their life changes for the worse as well. So this kind of describes the tip of the iceberg, right? The things at the top says hypogonadism or ED. Oftentimes it may be the male coming in and say, hey, doc, things aren't working as well in the bedroom. I need a little help. Do you have any of those blue pills? Well, we know as conventional medicine thinkers, there's something 8/9 of the iceberg is below the surface. So we start asking questions, what are your testosterone levels? Is there any underlying diabetes or blood pressure or blood sugar issues? Is there kinds of heart issues that may be also taking place, not just here's your blue pill kind of thinking. So I think this chart really tells it all the best, and it's really one of my favorite slides because it talks about the data showing specific numbers. So I'm going to step over here and cross in front of the screen, and you might be able to see here that on this side, this is serum testosterone levels, blood testosterone levels in young men. So that level should be 800, 900, 1,000. Remember the guy I said was down here in the lower 200s. And then what happens is we start losing that testosterone. As that happens, we gain weight in our midsection. Our muscles begin to soften. Us guys, we don't like that. So then as it drops below 900, we've lost the ability to prevent against future Alzheimer's. In the 700s, we start getting metabolic. That's the weight gain around our midsection. In the 400s, down goes the energy, down goes the libido. The sleep problems start showing up. We enter the 300s. Now the plaque in the arteries is starting to accumulate. Down in the 200s, depression, anxiety, even PTSD starts coming out in some people. And it's not till it falls clear down here to the low 230s do we have problems with the plumbing not working right. That's the last thing to show up. So I know by the time someone comes in with that, they have all these other things going on. So us men, we not only we need our testosterone, right? We need it for our brains and our bones, our heart, and of course, our relationships. So one of our therapies, the one we're talking about, ramps us right up here to maybe 1,000, 1,000 plus, and boom, we're off and running for 4 to 5 months at the restored levels. So this is a pretty important concept. So from time to time we get the question, hey doc, I heard that if you take testosterone, it can actually put you at risk for prostate cancer. Have any of you ever heard of that? I don't know. But they thought that that was the case decades back, and now over the last couple of decades, especially of late, we now have found from Dr. Abraham Morgan Taylor, kind of the lead thinking urologist in the world on testosterone. He's a Harvard-educated individual physician, actually chairs the urology at Harvard Medical School. And he has found through 19 studies, he says there is no increased risk for prostate whatsoever with testosterone levels. In fact, the opposite is true. He said when testosterone levels drop, the risk for prostate cancer actually goes up, and people present at later advanced stages of the disease when they do show up. So it's a testosterone insufficiency that creates the problem, not treatment with that. So the positive effects that people get when they give testosterone are increased energy and vitality, increased feeling of overall well-being. They get relief from anxiety and depression. They get improved brain fog, memory, focus. Of course, libido and performance goes up. But then the breast and the prostate are protected from cancerous kind of conditions. The brain, heart, and bones are protected from degenerative kind of situations and states. So the bones strengthen, the muscles strengthen, propensity toward reduced body fat. Why? Because you build muscle, so you burn fat at a better rate. And of course, the cholesterol numbers come down. And I love this chart here, because this talks about how all the bad cholesterol numbers slide down with bioidentical testosterone, and the good cholesterol goes up. And I'll just tell you, there's no prescription drug that I could write you that would do what that does, except testosterone replacement. I'll just throw out my personal information here. This is a calcium score that can be done. You can sit through a CT scanner for 10 seconds, hold your breath, and they quickly scan your coronary arteries looking for blockages and calcifications. And I went and had this done because I was curious. My calcium score came back as 0, and they rated my coronary age of less than 35. So I don't know whether that means 29 or 25 or whatever that means, but I was thankful that I had these good numbers. My wife did the same, and that test is available locally through 3 different institutions. If you're curious about that, you can have that done as well. So let's go to the females and talk about menopause. So 3,500 women every single day in America enter menopause. They don't ever really get through it or get through it properly or get over it. Their symptoms begin as early as 15 years prior to menopause. The most common age of onset is actually age 42. So as a result of their testosterone dropping, their rate of heart disease starts going up to about 1 in 7. And then when menopause hits and the estrogen further drops off, their rate of heart disease climbs again. It actually doubles, goes up to 1 in 3, because that estrogen is protective from future heart attacks. So they need the estrogen. This is a compound present, yes, both in men and women. Us men need some estrogen. We don't produce estrogen, but our bodies convert testosterone to a tiny little bit of estrogen. We need estrogen. It's what makes us nice, right? We need to have some of that in our system. We don't need a lot of it. We just need a little. But it is a dominant hormone in females. Has over 400 functions, controls the hot flashes and the night sweats, makes the bones strengthen, protects the heart, maintains the youthful collagen-like effect in the females. Also controls hot flashes, protects the bone and the breast and the heart against cancerous type conditions. And it's also preventive for neurodegenerative conditions such as Alzheimer's. So hormone therapy is really something that is pretty important in a lot of people's lives, almost everyone, I would pose to you. So here's your two options: synthetics, okay, and bioidenticals, meaning the exact molecule found in the human without the side chains and the effects. Those synthetics can be delivered in the form of pills, patches, or of course shots. Bioidenticals, pills, patches, creams, or gels, and then the most popular form we have found to be pellet therapy. More about that. So there was this study with conventional hormone methods some about 20 years back, and it was called the Women's Health Initiative. It was a very flawed study. At the time it hit, they released the data and the results, which were not supported by the study, but it hit the headlines and it scared women half to death, and doctors, saying, oh my gosh, there's a 41% increase in stroke, a 29% increase in heart attacks, a 26% increase in breast cancer, twice the rate of blood clots, and a 76% increase in Alzheimer's. So it freaked and shocked the nation. It was even in a magazine publication at the day called Time magazine. So the prescriptions for these hormones plummeted really almost overnight. And the data was flawed. So it basically left many women with no options whatsoever, even though they needed the hormones. Now, unfortunately, it's taken 15 years, but the authors to that study have now come out and said, we were wrong, we're sorry, the data did not show that. But we lost 2 generations of women because of that flawed study. We now know those are not the numbers. But it gave birth to a whole new rise of safer compounds in that flawed study. In fact, in the center there, maybe you can see those little birth control pills. It says Prempro. The other one was Premarin. Prempro had some progestins in it, and those are the ones that caused the problems. They were taken orally. They had side effects: breast tenderness, potential increased risk for cancers, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, and then the symptoms of weight gain and undesirable bleeding and headaches and nausea and blood clots and all cramps. So that's from oral synthetics taken and having those side effects. So other delivery systems showed up on the market. Patches. You put your patch on right there on your arm, or you rotate it around, and it's supposed to last for 3 days, giving you some estrogen, not very much, but the side effects were weight gain, and they found that half of the people didn't really absorb it properly, so it was only partially helping the situation. Then there's the creams and gels that showed up where you put those on and you rotate them around. The problem is they were rubbing off on babies, rubbing off on pets, affecting the hormone levels in those individuals, and all kinds of the anxiety that might go along with that. And they found that those really don't protect the bones or the brain like they thought they would. So the injectables came out, and this tends to be popular in males who replace their testosterone by giving themselves a shot. The problem is the shots have side chains on them, and those side chains cause problems. They actually elevate cholesterol numbers, and you can get potential liver toxicity and heart problems. And the problem is you take a shot, and so your level peaks way up and then it drops way off. So the males actually ride an emotional roller coaster, and it appears that everyone around them can tell them when it's time for the next shot because it wears off and they get cranky. And so they're relatively inexpensive, and so that's why people tend to do them, even though their side effects are there. They want the hormone replacement. So bioidentical pellets kind of came on the market some 80 years ago, and they found that these are natural plant-derived compounds. It's the exact molecule that the human ovary and testicle makes, replacing it properly. Lasts longer than any other treatments, 4 to 6 months. It's the most widely studied of hormone out there available, again, approaching 8 decades. A steady stream in the blood, highly individualized dosing. It's placed under the skin with a little nick and a little Band-Aid covering it. Most people don't even know it's there. So the history of pellets started clear back in 1939, and the use of them eventually migrated across the pond, went to Asia and Europe because the pharmaceutical industry had developed Premarin. And so the research all went across the pond. Now all that's changed, it's back, it's been back for 20-some years. And so again, this has been studied longer than any other kind of hormone. So here's the release levels that you see. So you see that purple up and down jagged number, that's from oral ingested hormones. And then the patch, which is supposed to last 72 hours, gives you a peak, and then it falls off, and every 3 days you take your patch off. But the implants provides that steady state. In fact, it's better than steady state because these pellets are not time released, but rather they're released based on cardiac output, which basically means that the more I work out or the more I get my heart rate up, whether it be a fast walk or a bicycle ride or something like that, the higher level of hormone I enjoy, which is exactly how our bodies work. We call that concept endocrine mimicry. We're mimicking what the body actually does and what it did when we were younger until the hormones started dropping off and we began the aging process. So the pellet therapy really helps the body return to a normal balance and the proper physiologic state. So it is the right kind of hormone. It's not synthetic, it's bioidentical. It is the right amount because it's all customized and individualized to your frame and your activity level and your kidney function. And is the right delivery system, again, released based on cardiac output. So the pellet therapy is safe, it's evidence-based, hundreds of studies out there, been around 3/4 of a century, if not more, used on 5 continents. You get no roller coaster effect. You implant it basically a few times a year. Very low side effect profile. It's the best method to make bone stronger. I'll show you that chart shortly. No evidence whatsoever of the increased risk of breast cancer. If anything, I post you that it's helped protective for breast cancer. No increase in blood clots, stroke, or heart attack. And the studies show that it helps optimize and protect against bone, brain, breast, and heart kind of problems as well as relationships. Quick couple of slides on breast health. Breast cancer studies, there are basically hundreds of studies that say this as a bottom line. Testosterone delivered by pellets does not increase the risk for breast cancer, unlike oral synthetic methyl testosterone. And then testosterone and estradiol implants does not increase the risk of breast cancer, even in breast cancer survivors. So the safety data has completely been out there and is well known. These are just some slides that talk about, this was a group of 2,700 women in the mid-ranges of life. They found that the breast cancer recurrence was 17 per thousand in the users of hormone therapy, but it was more than double that in the non-users, coming in at 30. Breast cancer death rates were only 5 per thousand in ladies who used hormone replacement, but it was 15 per thousand in those who did not use hormones. So again, the protective effect, and death rates likewise is similar improvements. So bone health. As we age, we start losing our density in our bones. That's why you hear of older people falling and breaking a hip. And then they have limited options to restore that because the bone is very weak and brittle and moth-eaten. Well, testosterone and estradiol are the bone builders. They repave that bone, they make it strong like it's supposed to be, and they do so at 3 times the rate of the best prescription drugs on the market. We actually repeatedly reverse osteoporosis in our clinic and have been doing so for the last 4.5 years because of this therapy. Arthritis. Knee aches and pains and joints and degenerative diseases. By last year, it was the 4th leading cause of disability, certainly present in both genders. Both testosterone and estrogen can re-stimulate those cartilage cells. And in fact, that's one of the key indicators for people that their pellets are working because their joint pains reduce themselves significantly. How about brain health? Alzheimer's. This is now being termed type 3 diabetes in some people. Women get it 8-to-1 over men. Women on estrogen are half as likely to develop it. Men with low testosterone are 3 times likely to develop it. Heart health, basically the bottom line is this: estrogen replacement with pellets has a positive effect on body fat for women. It actually assists them in losing weight gently, slowly over 18 months. And that fat reduction negates the negative effect of any elevated cholesterol numbers normally in their body. So what else is important? We also deal with thyroid. Thyroid is basically metabolism and hair, skin, and nails. It's your furnace mechanism to help you stay healthy and keep your metabolic rate up. So we do that well. We do vitamin D very well. And then women only get progesterone to help them better sleep at night and restore those parts of their life that have since been lost. So for the millions of people seeking better alternatives to the Band-Aid approach, certainly the pellet therapy is the most popular disease management, the true health approach rather than the disease management approach. It is evidence-based medicine, and it helps us affect healing, not just fixing and curing. So the next steps are very simple. If you're experiencing or you know someone who's experiencing any of the symptoms I mentioned earlier, just fill out that symptom checklist. And then we would offer tonight here, we have the capability for you to draw your blood. If you're watching this recording and you want to draw it in the future, you can have that done. We have found one of the most common questions we get from some people is that, hey doc, can I draw my blood? Is this something I can bill my insurance for? The answer is yes. However, we have found that insurance prices, they charge upwards of almost $2,000 for the blood work, which we don't think is legit. So in an attempt to get those costs lowered, we went directly to the lab themselves. We bypassed the third-party payers, and we say, if you offer us a cash price to our patient, what would that be for us? And the answer came back $225. And that is the price for all of not just your before labs, but if you get therapy, we repeat the blood tests after the therapy at no additional charge, all part of that initial $225, which we think is a very affordable price. So a person can get their blood drawn, and they can even use FlexSpend and HSA and MSA kind of funds to do that, saving them, pre-tax dollars. So I would say get your blood drawn. You don't have to wait now. You can do it at the end of the presentation or anytime you see this recording. We're open in our office Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5, and then Saturday on 8 to noon. We do blood draws during the week only, though, Monday through Friday, so a person could show up, request that, and have their blood drawn, and then we'll call you with the results in the following few to several days when those results come in. Finally, a final couple of slides, yearly treatment comparison. If you're going to do shots done properly actually should be twice a week. So that's 104 shots a year in the male, and that's kind of hard to get excited about. Creams you have to put on twice a day, so that's 700 plus per year. Pellets are basically 3 to 4 times a year, and that's it. So they work the best. Potential temporary concerns of first insertions. We don't see this very often, but it can happen occasionally from time to time. All of these are temporary. Number one, fluid retention. That can happen because testosterone makes the kidney work better. The kidney's job is to absorb sodium. When that happens, fluid follows. Some people, I know I did, first of all, got a little bit puffy, so I simply took a diuretic for the next couple of weeks. You rid yourself with that water, and it's never reoccurred since. For me, I've had 12 insertion of pellets over 4.5 years, and I've had no other need to take any kind of a diuretic. So that can happen. It doesn't always happen, but it's taken care of simply. If the breast tissue, for whatever reason over the years, because of perhaps menopause, hasn't seen estrogen, sometimes you get some temporary breast tenderness. We give you some evening primrose oil capsules, and that gets rid of it. A possibility of uterine spotting or bleeding could show up. That's oftentimes, again, just temporary. We would make sure your progesterone needs to be adjusted, and then you move on, and that all goes away. People, if they don't honor a temporary gluteus restriction for them for a few short days, can actually pop a pellet out, so we show you how to avoid that. Some people initially, mostly ladies, who have some temporary adjustments with their hormones will get a temporary amount of facial acne. We give you an antibiotic or something to just get rid of it in a few short weeks. Males can experience a temporary reduction in the testicular size and their sperm count. That's because the testosterone down-regulates that. When the pellets wear off, that goes back to its routine levels again. And we help mitigate that with a compound called DIM, one of our nutraceuticals that I mentioned earlier. So the final key facts are this: hormone imbalance can occur in men and women at any age whatsoever. I even have younger individuals, teens, that have thyroid imbalances that we can fix with a couple of capsules to do that. So it can happen at any age. Not all therapies are created equal. It is not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach. You need to find a certified expert. And, quote, normal labs oftentimes are just insufficient numbers. They're not optimized. So again, you could get those done today if you like. So finally, I'm going to invite up here a couple of people that have had a chance to personally experience pellets. I'm going to play a short video clip for you here on that and let you listen to those first, and then we'll have the special guests come up.
Some of the symptoms that I was experiencing were some hot flashes during the day, night sweats.
I was tired all the time.
Low libido, just kind of felt like I was a slug.
I wasn't even interested in intimacy with my husband.
My moods were horrible.
Fatigue, lack of energy, not sleeping well at night.
I was grumpy all the time. I just had no joy.
Low energy level, sometimes confusion, just not thinking real clear early in the mornings.
I didn't feel like I was myself.
I thought it was just part of a growing old aging process. I didn't realize that my hormones could be out of whack.
They tested me for pituitary tumors and all kinds of things, and I asked, can you just check my hormones? And that's when they found out that I wasn't making any estrogen.
I had a friend who told me about BioT and what it did for her, and then I was hearing these ads on KOA and other radio stations promoting BioT Medical, and it all sort of converged at the perfect time for me.
I love the idea that it was natural. I love the idea that it wasn't something I had to remember to rub on my skin or take orally or whatever I needed to do.
I tried every hormone under the sun before BioT.
Being in radio, it's stressful. There's always things happening. You've got to be reacting really quickly. And for me, for a while, that was kind of difficult. And then I figured out, okay, it's my hormone imbalance. We got that corrected with BioT. And since then, I feel like I'm raring to go every day.
I found really the results to be pretty immediate. And I think even some of the things I wasn't even aware of, I found a little bit more mental clarity. I didn't realize I was foggy until the fog kind of cleared.
I finally just looked back after a few days once they kicked in, and thought I really feel good, and I feel like I want to run, and I've never in my life ran.
I'm type 2 diabetic, and since I've been pelleted, I've been able to come off one of my 2 diabetic medications. I've stopped using my antidepressant drug that I've been on for years, and I've also been able to get off of my cholesterol-lowering medication.
First thing I noticed for me when I knew something was different was I was doing the dishes at about 8 o'clock at night one night. And my wife looked at me and said, "Why are you doing the dishes?" And I said, "I don't know. I just can't stop doing them. I just feel like I can get stuff done."
I was excited to be able to keep up with my kids and my family and the life that I love.
I feel confident and I feel excited about living.
Being able to just be spontaneous again has been just a huge asset to our marriage.
It just feels like I'm a newlywed again. At the beginning of the program, I was engaged, but now I'm married, and my husband even tells me that he didn't realize that it could get better. But I feel like I'm able to give him a better of myself that I didn't even know that was missing.
Now, my husband is pleased that my libido has come back, that I've got my energy, and my kiddo is thrilled that I can run around with him.
Teachers and dean of students that ask me, Lisa Ann, what are you doing? And it's BioT.
I recommend BioT to everybody who talks about hormones, who's out there wondering what's wrong with them. Go for the optimized levels. And the way to do that is go to biotmedical.com like I did.
I would like to thank BioT for changing my life.
For helping me to get my life back.
For giving me a portion of my life back that I didn't even know I had lost.
For what it's given me back, a healthier, happier life, more energy. My husband has his wife back. My kids have their mom back.
I want to thank BioT for helping me age healthier and live happier over the next several years of my life. I'm really excited about what's to come.
Okay, chivalry is not dead in my household, so I'm going to invite ladies first. Ashley, would you be interested in coming up here and sharing the group a little bit about your story? Yep. And then we'll have Allison, and then we'll bring up the male. Yeah, by the way, yeah, so I've been vaccinated for COVID in case anybody wonders, so yeah. So come up here, maybe take a few minutes, and I'll just hold the mic for you and just tell everybody what your story is.
So actually, I didn't realize that I was deficient in anything. I came in here, actually came for a testimony myself working. Allison's actually one that gave a testimony, and it touched me. So I just got my labs done that night, not knowing that my testosterone was going to be very low. Because after I get off of work at like 5 o'clock, I'd want to go home, take a nap. I was experiencing extreme fatigue. So I got my labs, I realized that, got with Dr. Seacrest, he helped me, and we got pelleted, and I felt difference in about 2 weeks. However, everyone's kind of different. Most people feel it within that 4-week mark, that 3-week mark, but I started feeling it different because, everybody's body's different. Sorry. And also, I started noticing my mental health was like really improving. I was more happier. I just felt good, more alive. I had energy. I also noticed that my hair grew an inch really quickly because it helps. Once your hormones get elevated, your whole body just kind of helps you. From there, I started noticing my body kind of losing weight from there, and I just noticed all these great things that I didn't realize were a problem. Honestly, I just thought it was normal to feel that way, and I never knew that BioT was an option. And I really want people to know that there is help out there, and there's things that you can do for yourself. People just don't know, and to feel good and to take care of yourself now, it's a good investment for your health now, rather than later, when things could occur, because this can help with Alzheimer's running in my family. This can help with freeze Alzheimer's, breast cancer. And I'm kind of in that holistic thing. I come from a culture of Asian heritage, so we do kind of all natural type of things. And what I love about BioT is it's all natural. It's not based on like animal products like horse urine that's foreign to the human body. It also is like really great because it goes with your cardiac output. It's going to put out what you need and based on your individual body. And honestly, it's really changed my life, and I've seen it change so many other people's lives, and I really want to get the word out there because I didn't even know. I'm 27. I thought maybe I'm too young to do this, but you never know. Really, it's affecting people younger, and I feel like my generation might be suffering a little bit more because, we're more into the social media. We're not as active as we used to be in the older generation where they got out and actually went outside, went on walks, and I feel like my generation is suffering a little bit more, and this is natural for your hormones to go down. It is with like life, but if there's something you can do about it, and I've done something about it, I feel so much better.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Okay, Allison, do you mind? We talked to her not all that long ago, and she experienced some changes. Maybe you could just share with the group how you felt perhaps before, and then what caused you to say, I need to have my levels checked, and then how you felt afterwards. So come on over here. Yep, you can take your mask off if you like. I'll hold this for you.
Okay, perfect. Well, I've spoke at one of these other conferences before, and I actually was a little bummed because they had a picture of a before and after of me last time. And, we get those little time hop things on, our social media. Well, my time hop popped up a couple months ago, and it was my 1 year from having BioT. And it was crazy because I think a lot of people start off with, let's start with some vitamins, let's start working out, let's go get some protein shakes, let's work on, being on some diet, whether it's low carb, high carb, keto, you name it. And we do all of these other things, but we're never really actually filling the holes of our bucket. And so when I met Dr. Seacrest, I had heard about hormones. I'd tried a route that wasn't super effective, but I felt like I was kind of getting in where I needed to be. And then ended up meeting Dr. Seacrest by a referral, came in. I said, this is what's going on. And he said, I have an answer for you. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And it's really scary. It's a little bit scary to get your first pellet. I think there's that thought of what if? What if it doesn't work? Well, you can keep what ifing, but you spend a lot of money trying vitamins, not that vitamins aren't helpful, trying different diets, trying different products, pulling different things off of the shelf. And the thing for me was I was working out. and I worked out every single day. I lifted heavy weights. I did my cardio. I worked with a trainer. I tracked my macros. So if there was somebody who was already doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, limiting my alcohol intake, drinking a gallon of water a day, I was that. I was the poster child, okay? And I still wasn't getting the results I wanted. Not only was I not getting the results I wanted from the gym aspect, I was exhausted. My allergies were all over the place. I had chronic sinus infections and ear infections, to the point where I was getting a steroid shot at least once a quarter, long and short acting. I was on 2 different antihistamines. I was on a steroid nasal spray, and that doesn't include all of the other things that does. So, not that mental health obviously is a very real thing, because it is real. But when you're also doing other things that makes your mental health worse, it continues to build on itself. And so for me, once I started the pellets, not having to be at the doctor all the time, not having my sinuses bothering me all the time, being able to actually get a good night's sleep, all of these things started changing. And it's funny because I do talk to a lot of people about BioT. I work around a lot of people, and they'll say certain things, and I'm just like, okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. Well, when was the last time you got your blood drawn? People don't think about that, but they're really quick to just take a pill. And there's nothing wrong with taking a pill, but if you're blindly taking something when you don't actually know where your levels are, that does not make any sense to me. Because you're starting from where? From what? You're starting from nothing. So at least if you get your blood work, you know where you're starting from, and then you can move on from there. And it is, like you said, it does take a little bit of time to get your levels adjusted. But on that note, even if you're not where you want to be in 1 or 2 months, you will start to feel better in 1 or 2 months. So you will continue to get to where you need to be, even if that process takes a little bit of time.
I'll show your pictures if you want to see that. You had them up here earlier.
Yeah, so these are my pictures, and I kind of like this because not only do I look completely different, right? I do hair, so I change my hair color a lot. But that's something that I literally worked out all the time. I seriously could never lose any of my abdominal. I couldn't shred out my shoulders. I couldn't build any shoulder muscles, and I was exhausted. So when I tell you exhausted, I mean I would work out, and I would be so tired that the next day I would be like, I just don't want to work out, and I would force myself to work out. And people are like, oh, well, you're fine, you're thin. Being thin doesn't mean you're healthy. That's not always necessarily how it works. And I'm a mom, and I have kids, and I have a very severely disabled child. And the best thing you can do for yourself is take care of yourself, because nobody else is going to take care of you. And you can continue to keep putting out fires for everybody else, but until you start taking care of yourself, you really can't take care of those around you. And that was really the turning point for me was, I have to take care of me, because if I can't take care of me, I can't take care of my kids. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're very
Congratulations
welcome.
on your success.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you want to personal train, she's good at it.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, I'm going to invite up here a gentleman who, when I first met, he very much moved me with his story and his journey. And so to whatever level you're comfortable sharing that, please do so, because, so Chad here is a fireman, so he'll tell you a little bit about his story, but maybe share with the group how bad things had gotten for you, and then how things turned around and what you think of that. I'll just hold this for you.
Okay. So I basically had all the classic signs and symptoms that you guys have seen. The worst one being severe depression. I had a little bit of anxiety, but fatigue. My joints were in pain all the time, and I tried to work out and stretch and do all that stuff, and my sleep was terrible, which just compounded the depression. I had PTSD, all that stuff.
How bad had things gotten for you?
My depression got about as bad as it could get. I would attempt suicide if my wife at the time she had just left, so I decided that I was I was done. Looking back now, I didn't want to die. I wanted the pain to go away. But at the time, like I said, I was done. So she had left, so that's when I decided to make an attempt, and she came home early and found me before.
It's too late.
So otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And then, so I decided to do some research, try to figure out I knew something was wrong. So I went and got tested with a dermatologist, and he would put me on a shot routine every week. I was getting shots, and just the classic roller coaster, up and down, up and down. And after about 6 months, we switched insurances, and they would stop covering the shots. And so I went from being at a really good level to, I think when I came back and saw you, I was at 71 or something like that. So
horribly low levels.
Yeah. And that was when I was in my darkest place. I ended up in a psych hospital, just really having a rough time. So fast forward, the gym that I go to, I overheard some guys talking about Dr. Seacrest, and I'm like, well, this guy sounds pretty cool, so I'm going to go see what this BioT is about. And somebody told me, I had not gone right away because I was a little skeptical, but somebody was like, just go get tested, see what your levels are at. So I did, and that's when I found out I was extremely low, and I was like, well, clearly that's got to be the issue. Got my first pellet, and it was like life-changing, and for me, it was life-saving. That's about all I can say about it. I mean, I can't live without it now.
How was your energy?
Energy was great. I was sleeping better. My joints didn't have any pain anymore. Just I was on probably 6 or 8 different depression medications. Now I'm on 0. I've been off of them for over a year. So really super life-changing for me, and I can't say enough good things about it.
Your physique looks great. You've been working out, getting results.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a fireman, so when I got on the fire department, it was me and 5 other guys, and in the academy, I was the worst in shape guy there. I had trouble keeping up to the point where I thought I may or may not make it through this, which was scary at the time because I didn't have any other options. So I went from that to now probably arguably one of the best shape on the department. So yeah, that's great. It's been great.
Congratulations on your success. Way to go. So Chad's story's moving, and I want to share with you one other short video clip because my heart jumps out to the veterans that I get to help take care of, and so I'm going to fast forward to that real quickly. I even got a veteran in the audience here tonight, but unfortunately our veterans suffer from PTSD, and this is one of the best treatments and therapies out there for them. They take their lives, unfortunately, at the alarming rate of 28 people per day, complete suicide because they feel so horribly bad. And this is a remarkable therapy, and I just want to share a couple of quick stories with you here regarding that.
I spent 23 years in the military. I retired 3 years ago. You'd expect to enjoy your retirement. Life for myself every day was sitting at the house, anxiety, depression, not a lot of energy, didn't want to get out of the house, didn't want to really do much. Sitting at home, suffering from depression, PTSD, be by myself.
Because so many of our veterans come back with post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's a big problem. They can't think well. Their memory's gone. Their energy level's gone. They don't sleep well. Their relationships are really on the mend, and they really can't get functional jobs.
So normal treatment prior to being pelleted was going to see the doctor. They want to put you in some sort of counseling, anger management. The problem I have with that is it really sets you back, I believe. It doesn't really get to the root of the problem.
You know, the interesting thing, conventional medicine, what they do, they think antidepressants. They think memory pills, which resemble amphetamines, and then sleeping pills to sleep at night are the answer. They're really not the answer, because if you look at quality of life, those people are no better off than they were before they were medicated. The reality is at least 50% of those people, especially the ones that have had traumatic brain injury, blast injuries, and those kinds of things in the war, they have hormone imbalances, which begins with the pituitary gland. Their growth hormones are low. Their testosterone levels are low. In women, their estradiol levels are low.
Dr. Donovitz, of course, came over, and we met at the back of the bay at Topgolf, and he was like, just please, I promise you, you will feel better. He says, it won't cost you anything. He said, just come to the office and let's get going on this, because I want to see you live a better quality life.
What we do is actually optimize their hormones, get rid of their symptoms naturally using bioidentical hormones. That way you don't have to be over-medicated, and guess what? Their quality of life returns. So they have a great quality of life instead of being over-medicated where they can't work and they can't function in their relationships with their wives and their children.
Brenda told me about the BioT. He sent me a link to the website. Thought I'd give it a shot.
I noticed the difference fairly quickly. Family members have come to me and say, wow, we've known you our whole life, and you're doing a lot better.
After the second week, I started leaving the house again. It made me feel wonderful.
I'm smiling more, and I'm enjoying life now.
Get a better quality of sleep at night. Before the therapy, I was sleeping probably 3 hours a night, and now I'm getting a good 6 hours. Pain levels, they're way down. I'm up to running 4 miles a day now. As before, some days I wouldn't even get out of bed.
Bella and I get out pretty much on a daily basis. At the dog park, whatever activity that might be going on, I feel like going now. Before, I didn't feel like going.
With BioT, it's given my retirement back.
And the depression's going away, the anxiety's going away, and the energy levels way up, way up.
BioT changed my way of life.
This treatment has been much better than any treatment I've ever been through over the last 5 years. If you are suffering from PTSD, the medications, the rehashing everything, the counselors, the anger management, there are other options.
It's a simple blood test. What do you have to lose?
I would recommend it for any of my brothers out there, sisters, please, give it a try.
It's amazing how something so small that's implanted can make a big difference in your life.
Definitely like to thank Dr. D and Mandy for approaching me that day. It has made a great change in my life, and I just want to tell them thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, BioT.
So I got all kinds of patients sending me pictures and stuff that I don't even ask for, but it's pretty remarkable. So I just share some of those with you, and I was especially thankful for Chad and Allison and Ashley sharing their stuff. One final slide here. We do make the pellets work better and last longer with some very hormone-specific nutraceuticals. These are all high-grade stuff put together by Thorne Company, which are those who make nutritionals for the Olympics. So very highly safe and effective. So basically, one of the most common questions I think we get from us is, Doc, all this sounds great. What are my costs involved? So what we have found, here's simply our pricing. For females, it's $350. That includes your pellets plus your installation. And it lasts about 3 to 4 months. So if you do the math, it comes out to about $3 a day, perhaps a little more, with the nutraceuticals. For males, there's 2 price options nowadays. The most popular option is $725. That lasts 4 to 5 months, and if you do the math, it nets out to about $3 to $4 a day. And there's a new lower cost option for the male, which kind of only lasts 3 to 4 months, but the price drops to $550. We also offer discounts for any veterans, prior military, police, fire, sheriff, paramedic, first responder. On the top option, we offer $100 off, slightly less than that for the mid-tier option. For females, we offer $50 off. And then we have a teacher discount for $25 off as a discount. So again, it's our way of saying thank you to first responders, thank you for teachers for all that you do. And so we want this to be affordable for everyone. So when you draw the numbers back down, it's down to about $4 a day. And what do we say those energy drinks we're selling for again? About $3 to $4 a day. So many of our patients find that they were already spending the money, and it just now goes to a different direction. But now it's something that restores their health, gives them back the vitality of life that they're looking and seeking for. That quality of life returns. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming. I'll field questions later. And if you have somebody that you know, like, and care about, please forward this information on. Again, to our friends on Facebook, if you're watching this recording, like it, share it, make comments on it if you like, and help us spread the word to everybody out here that needs this. We've been doing this now 4.5 years. I've had 12 installations. It's one of the most remarkable things I've ever done in medical practice. It's actually changed our practice. My mother comes out to get these. She's 80. I have 2 patients who are now 90 years of age and come and get their pellets. So they're doing so well. So it's pretty much for any adult of any age, pretty much. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming, and that'll finish us out for tonight. Thanks again, Jordan, for helping out.